Let's look at VFR sectional and terminal area charts. This is going to start our section. It's like a 20-page section of the VFR area in our user guide to study for the Part 107. We're just going to go through it briefly just to make sure you know the core information. So, general information. We're going to look at some symbols, and these symbols are going to be used on sectional charts, TACs, so terminal area charts, and a few other charts. So they're good to know. Let's start off with the airport ones. So we're going to go on the left side, and then we'll look on the right side, and we'll go down from there to the next page. It's just like 2 pages for this section. So land, plane, civil. We have non-towered and towered. Those are 2 completely separate things, and it's super nice because the FAA separates them with 2 different colors. And these colors are consistent the entire time. So if it's non-towered, it's going to be magenta, and if it's towered, it's going to be blue. So airports having control towers are, shown in blue, although those are shown in magenta. Super simple. That's the basics, right? All recognizable runways, including those that are closed, are shown on our charts. So we have fuel available on these as well, if they have these little marks that come out of the side. We've gone over this a little bit before, but this is basically runways on our charts. We also have runway patterns at airports when we have a hard surface. We'll get into soft surfaces in a second. But this is if we have a hard surface with a runway 1,500 feet or greater in length. This 1,500 feet might not be completely usable, but it's 1,500 feet of runway. Next we have civil military. So this is like shared. You can be here possibly, but this is the second stage. This is civil military. You have non-towered and towered, of course, and you just basically have, if it has a control tower, and then the recognizable runway patterns. Then you have strictly military. You don't know if there's any repair or refueling facilities here, but this is what they're going to look like. So these, it's just 2 circles on this one, no ticks or anything like that. 2 circles, and these look pretty big. So you can see as you go down from civilian to civilian military or military, they're getting bigger on the actual runway depiction part. You have your heliports. These are pretty simple to remember. It's just H in a circle. You have foreign, which is just a gray circle. We'll go up to ultralight flight parks, and this is basically for super light aircraft. And you have an F in a circle. So just think of it as ultralight flights, small aircrafts, F right here. You have public use. This is for soft and hard runways that are less than 1,500 feet in length. So remember we talked about these ones that were 1,500 feet. These are for public use, and it's less than 1,500 feet. You have restricted or private runways, which are surrounded in an R, and these are typically also less than 1,500 feet in length. They have an R, they're restricted. We have objectionable, which basically is a circle, has objectionable next to it, and you're just going to want to use caution around here. You have unverified, so that means if you're landing here, you might want to pay more caution to it. There's a U inside of a circle, and we have abandoned, which is basically just an X inside of a circle. That depicts that an airport is abandoned or permanently closed. Continue on, we also have seaplane. So these are for civil, it's non-towered or towered, and then we also have seaplane if it's an emergency. And this one does not have a circle with tick marks around it. And you don't know if fuel or anything is available. So if you see a circle with tick marks around it, you can have fuel and typically maintenance there as well. You have airport data grouping. So inside of a box, this will typically be in a box, you have special traffic rules as well as helpful information. Notice this one on the left, it has an FSS, which means there is a flight service station on field. So maintenance is there. We also have places where VFR, visual flight rules, are prohibited, and this is where we would have no SVFR. We have a couple of more parts of information here. We have control tower primary frequency. So if you come up to a control tower, if it has a control tower, you're going to see CT 118.3. This could be any number, and that just basically means that the control tower frequency that you're going to be communicating with. You also have ATIS or ATIS, and that is where you're going to get any terminal information services. And that would be right next to our CT, and if there's not one, it will be by itself. The star indicates that the tower only operates part-time, so you want to check frequency tabulations for that, which we went over in the last video. You can check to see when they're operating. You have the elevation of the tower in feet, so that's this next row. You also have lighting operations, If there's an L, it operates sunset to sunrise. If there's an asterisk next to it, there could be limitations on this lighting. Next, you have the longest runway in hundreds of feet. I've said this earlier, usable actual runway length could be less, but it's hundreds of feet, so the runway is going to be 7,200 feet. And then we have some more possible information that you could run into down here. We've gone over these before in the previous videos, so if you need to look these up or go watch those, they're super informative and they're a great way to study. That's going to conclude our section on introduction to VFR, sectional, and terminal area charts. So this is the airport section. Next, we're going to look at radio aids to navigation.